Okay, so this is a tutorial on how to take a bitmap that's been scanned into your computer, or you can actually go online and find bitmaps that you can use for this, but in this particular case we're using a bitmap that we're scanning into the computer, bring it into the vcarve program, and convert the lines that you've scanned based on the picture into vectors so that you can export them to a CNC router and cut a design. So my grade 8 class is doing this, and first step they're going to do is they're going to go into their grade 8 wood design shortcut, and there'll be a link to your iDrive. You're going to go into one of the folders and you're going to open up your bitmap and take it and click drag it onto the desktop. Important that you do that. It makes it easy for your vcarve program, when you're in your vcarve program, to navigate to that file so you can find it on your desktop. It's easier. So I'm going to use my sample. This is my sample, dragging it onto my desktop. It takes a minute to do that, so let's do that. There we go, and there's my scan bitmap. I'm going to open up my vcarve program, and there's also a vcarve tutorial web link, and you'll be able to click on that and open up this tutorial. So here we go. So got the vcarve program. We're going to click on create a new file. Now there's a few settings. Your settings are going to be actually 10 by 10, and then your thickness is going to actually be 0.5, and you're going to go and you're going to erase those and set them for 11, 11, and then 0.75, and that's again the width, the height of 11, thickness of 0.75. Your 0 designation, you'll notice that you can change this red ball that's on the corner of the material. We want it set for the top, so make sure that the top is set. And also notice that you can change the orientation of where the 0 is, and as you change it, you'll notice that the 0 changes on the screen. So if you can see where my mouse is basically pointing at 0 and 0-ish there. Okay, and if you switch that to the middle, now all of a sudden your 0 is in the center there and there-ish. Okay, so you want this set to the middle. Okay, inches should be selected, not millimeters, inches, and standard resolution Canadian Maple's fine. Click OK. Make sure that that's set up exactly the way that I showed you just now. Next thing to do would be to go to the folder that says, it's on the very top under File Operations, Import Bitmap for Tracing. Click on it to open it up. Navigate to your desktop. There we go. Here, you're looking for a bitmap. Click on it to open it, and give it a minute. Don't click a bunch of times because it'll slow down your computer. Just let it do its thing. There we go. Brings in the photograph of your bitmap. Okay, next thing to do, I've done this a few times, different ways, so this is the way that I recommend doing it. First thing to do, just click the button under Create Vectors that's called Trace Bitmap. Fit vectors to selected bitmap. So that's what we're going to do. You're going to click on that. You're going to bring your threshold level, that's the top setting, bring it up until it's not really grainy. You can see how grainy it gets if you bring it up too high. But you want to darken in the amount of the line that you can see. So bring it up as high as you can without it getting really grainy. Next thing to do would be to scroll down to the bottom setting. That's your bitmap fading. Take that setting and put it all the way down to 0, nothing. And you'll notice there's lots of little dots there. I'll show you how we're going to get rid of those after, because they'll create vectors all of their own if we're not careful. We have to click two buttons. First is the preview. That allows us to see what the vectors are going to look like. And we have to press the apply button. If you don't press it, you close this, you won't have done what we wanted to do, which was to trace the bitmap. So make sure you're clicking the apply button. Okay, next thing to do, we'll do this in, let me think, a couple of steps here. Okay, show you the zoom button. The zoom button is here. You can click on that, and then when you hover your mouse over top of the picture, you can click to zoom in, or if you hold the shift button down and click on the picture, it'll zoom out. The selection button allows you to select various different things, so you'll notice there should be, I'm going to zoom in here just so you can see, should be 2 independent vectors, and when you click on them, they should select. When you click on one of them, both select at the same time, it means that somewhere around your edge you've got an open break in the line. You're going to have to go and rescan it after you've taken a dark marker and gone over the entire edge of your image. What you want to do at this point, and also you notice these little dots, these are also little vectors we're going to have to clean up to. What we're going to do though, first of all, is we're going to click on one of the 2 lines, you get to this stage, and delete it. Press the delete key. Go to the center as well. Click on one of the 2 lines.
Leadership students that are here to help, and yearbook students, you can come and have your hamburger right now, and then we're going to have a meeting in the multipurpose room, please. All leadership students, come and get your burger.
Alright. Sorry about that. Anyhow, I've deleted the middle one, and I'm going to zoom out again, center it, and here we go. So I'm going to select 2 things. Now I can do this one of 2 ways. If I was to click and drag a box over the whole thing, all these little vectors, these little dots are going to be selected. I don't want that. So I'll click off the image, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to click on the vector itself, hold the shift key down, click on the other vector too. Now you notice that all the little dots are not selected. I'm going to press Control C, that copies it. You could also go to Edit, Copy if you don't know that link. Now I'm going to delete the entire image. So I'll click off the image. I want a white background to work from. So I'm going to select it using my click drag over top of the whole thing and press delete. It's going to take a minute because it's a large image, it needs to delete. Give it a minute. There we go. Zoom in again. Now I'm going to press Control V, and that'll paste the image exactly in place without all those little dots, those little tiny vectors, because that's can cause a big problem. Now I want to move this around a little bit. So I'm going to click right on the line itself. Don't click in open space somewhere, but actually click on the line, and you get these control handles come up. Click on the middle control handle and drag it right to the center. Okay, there we go. Now I've got it centered, and the first thing I'm going to do at this point is File, Save. So go to File, top corner, press Save As. I'm going to save it as my last name, .crv, and save it on your desktop as well. So select that. You can also save another copy in your documents, and it'll save 2 copies for you. So if one gets messed up, the other one will be available for you to use. Save. Here we go. Okay. Now another handy feature, we can zoom to fit. That's this button right here beside the other zoom box button, and it centers everything for us. Moving on. So I've got my 2 vectors. I'm going to deselect them for now to show you what we have to do, and sometimes yours will be the same. If yours is selected for the next step, that's good too. The little pin at the top, the auto hide, I want to pin that open so the menu stays open, and it resizes my information box. Now, there's a couple things to do here, and take a look at the material setup. So the button at the top, if you click Set, this is where you can change the features that we set at the beginning. So the 0, you could 0 at the bottom if you wanted to. You could change the place that the router bit is going to start on your material. We want it started in the center. So you should have a red box in the middle. No offsets or anything like that. The thickness should be 0.75. Okay, at this point. So you're double checking that right now to make sure that that is the case. Everything else is the same. Click OK. And okay, toolpaths. Next thing, material setup is done. Toolpath, there are many different kinds of toolpaths based on the little icon. You can see what they do. They also a little word blurb comes up telling you what they do. Profile toolpath, that's the one we're using. Pocket toolpath, drilling, pocketing, it just cuts a little bit into the material, for example. You can do some interesting things there. engraving as well, inlaying. You can do use a V-carve bit to do an engraving, like make a sign with a whole bunch of letters that look really good, or many other options. You can do 3D roughing toolpaths. There's lots of different things you can do this. We're just going to be focused on the profile. Click on that to open up the menu options for that. Now, first thing to look at is your start depth. That's the top setting, top part of the menu. It should say 0.0.
Leadership students to the NPR, please. Thank you.
Cut depth should be 0.78. Our thickness is 0.75. We want it to cut all the way through a little bit. So 0.78 is what you should have for your thickness. The end mill is the tool we're going to use. I'm not going to open that up and show you that. That will become for another lesson. Machine vectors, don't adjust any of these settings. They're all like they should be. The outside, the direction should be set to climb. The allowance offset should be 0.0, and vector start points aren't required. Last pass, that has to do if you wanted to make a really clean cut in hardwood, for example, and you wanted a smaller last pass made, you'd click that and you'd set that up. The tabs, however, is the one thing we do need to be concerned with. So make sure you're clicking on that, because we're going to have to add tabs to our toolpath. Now, when I do this, I click Edit Tabs. Notice that it says, oh, no vectors are selected. No suitable vectors are selected. At least one vector must be selected for this operation. Okay, so that's right. We deselected it back in a couple of steps ago. So to select them again, you can click a box over using your selection tool, so that you've got both vectors selected, and now you can press Edit. And there's a couple ways we can do this. Easy way to do is constant number. If you have a square shape, go with 4. If you have a triangular shape, go with 3. Click Add Tabs, and this is what you should see. If you have more than the 3 that are selected, it means that you have more vectors on your screen, and you'll have problems probably if you try to cut that out. So just save yourself the time and the headache. You can slide the tabs around a little bit, and what we basically want to have is kind of symmetrical. So one here, and then one at the bottom. So, and we'll go over what tabs are in a second. So once you've got that kind of set up, then you can click Close. Keep scrolling down to the bottom. Bottom is where you name it, and if you don't name it right now, and you're saving it onto our disk, our class disk, everyone's is going to be called Profile 1. You won't know whose is who. So make sure that you have yours. Same with your last name, and then press Calculate. Now it's going to give you a warning saying material thickness is 0.75, maximum tool depth we're going is to 0.78. So it's going to cut all the way through. Are you sure you want to do that? We are sure we do want to do that. So press OK. Gives you a preview of it, and it'll give you a live version of it. So you want to adjust the speed of that so it's not so fast. And you can press the Run button. There's single step, run, okay, preview selected toolpath. That's basically what we're going to do, is press the Run button, and it'll run it. You can see all of the steps it's going to take, how many passes it's going to require to cut all the way through the material, and at last it'll show us where the tabs will be. So that's good. We're happy with that. We can click on the toolpath itself to select it. Notice here, it's selecting that toolpath. Now we can press the Close button, and we're pretty much finished. We want to save the toolpath at this point, and the Save Toolpath is the bottom icon right here. It says Save Toolpath. Click on it. This is an important thing. We have CWI Professor Basic. That's the computer language that we're going to need to use for our router to understand it. And it can't be anything other than that. So make sure you're opening up the drop-down menu and finding CWI Professor Basic, selecting it so that it's highlighted here, and then you can save the toolpath. Dialog box opens up. Again, save to your desktop, and we're making an MMG file this time. This is the computer language file that we plug in through a memory stick that you're going to save this on. Okay, and here we go. So I'll save that on my desktop. I can minimize this, probably a good idea. Before I do that, I'm just going to save it once again. So I've got my finished copy done, and then I can minimize it again. I'll minimize this as well. There we go. Now, for example, if I was going to plug in my memory stick, I've got my bitmap here, my original bitmap. I've got my MMG file and my CRV file. CRV file is my vcarve program. If I want to pick up where I left off and keep working, I can do that. Or my bitmap, there it is on my desktop. And of course the MMG file, once again, is the file that we're going to click and drag onto the memory stick. And I'll show you a demonstration in class how to do that as well. Okay, so in a nutshell, that's what we're doing. We're converting our bitmaps into vcarve vectors so that our router can understand what we want to do with it, and we'll make a nice cool design. Alright, thanks very much for listening and have fun.